Welcome to this third and the final session of the 12th Adhyaya of Shree Bhagavad Geeta. We start with the gratitude towards the Lord, with whose grace everything is possible. We pray to this Guru Parampara through which this knowledge is transferred, maintained, preserved and reaches us. I pray to my Guruji, Pujya Guruma, with whose grace I am able to learn these scriptures. And I'm still a learner on this path, and I'm able to share this understanding with you. Start with a prayer. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So in the 12th Adhyaya, which is the Bhakti Yoga, Lord talks about the devotional journey of a devotee, the spiritual journey of a bhakta, and he described different steps of the spiritual journey. For the Sattva Guni, who is more established in Sattva Guna, Upasana is the form of connecting to the Lord, Bhakti, and Bhakti Upasana itself is a mansik karma. It is by our own inner mind that we can do this connection with the Lord. And God showed different types of upasana. The first one he described was the Nirguna Upasana. Now, Nirguna Upasana is a devotion to the formless God. It is also called as Arupa Upasana, devotion to the unmanifest Lord. And Bhagavaan himself said that Klesho Dhrika Tarastesham Avyakta Sakta Chetasam. There is Adhika Klesha. It is very difficult, much more difficult, because Dehavat Bira Bhapyate. We are all connected to our body so much, attached to our body so much, that it's very difficult to devote to the unmanifest Lord directly. And that's why he's shown a lot of other spiritual steps through which we can connect and ultimately reach to this ultimate step. The second he described was the cosmic form, the Vishwarupa Upasana, which is Anek Rupa, because in Vishwarupa, the Lord manifests himself in this universe in many, many different, numerous manifestations, thousands of manifestations. And how we can connect with this Lord in the Vishwarupa Upasana is, which has been described by Guruji as Karya Karana Sambandha. Whenever we interact with any of the objects of this world, then we understand that this is the Karya, and the Karana ultimately will be the Lord who has created this world. And that's why when we see any object, we think of the Lord. When we receive any appreciation, when we achieve some success, we always see that this is the energy, this is the Shakti, this is the power, this is the, all this grace of the Lord. Everywhere if we see, we can connect to him. When God said, Mana, Mayeva Mana Adatsva, means put your mind and buddhi into me. And this is what he meant when he said Vishwarupa Upasana. Then he said, Atachittam Samadhatum. If you cannot do this, the next Abhyasa Yogena Tato Mamik Chaptum Dhananjaya. With Abhyasa Yoga, with repeated practice, with study, and you can connect with me. And this is Abhyasa is in the Ekarupa Upasana, in one Ishtadeva, one Murti Swarupa of the Lord, where we can decide our own, wherever we have faith. It could be any God, it could be any Devata, and then we can decide and go ahead. And then if this is also not possible for the Rajoguni means people who are so much involved in karma, in activities, in actions. For them to do Manasik Upasana, to sit at one place and do puja, seva, archana of the Lord becomes very difficult. And for these people, Bhagavaan described the karma yoga, the sharirik, the physical activity or the physical karma, with which we can connect to the Lord, turning our karma into karma yoga. We have already seen this the last time, how to do Ishwararpana karma, surrender all our karmas to the Lord by understanding that we are the instrument, we are nimitta matra, God is the doer, and then connecting with the Lord with selfless actions, Bhagavata karma, Bhagavad Sambandhi karma, and devotion. And then finally, Lord said that if you can't do this, then at least start with the karma phala tyaga, the renunciation of the fruits of action, which is also a form of bhakti. And this has to be done with understanding. And then Bhagavaan described all these five and said that karma phala tyaga, Shreyo Gnanam Abhyasat Gnana Dhyanam Vishishyate Dhyanat Karma Phala Tyaga Karma Tyagat Shantiranantaram. That Karma Phala Tyaga is the best out of all this. He said it is not that one is superior to the other, one is better than the other, but we have to understand that it is according to the suitability, the eligibility, the adhikaritva of the sadhaka that we can choose what kind of upasana we want to do to connect ultimately to the Lord. And all these sadhanas, our scriptures tell us that they are not mutually exclusive. It is not that I just do one and continue doing one, but they are all together, they are all mutually inclusive. Means we can start with one and then go to the next step. We can start with the second or the third or the fourth and go to the next step and gradually go and connect to the divine. So they are all mutually inclusive. In Ishavasya Upanishad also, there is a beautiful three mantras, Sambhuti Upasana or Asambhuti Upasana, and it is said that the Samuchya, both the manifest and the unmanifest devotion together, is the best, which will give Vinashena Mrutyum Tirtva. So it's a very beautiful summary of the same understanding of the bhakti has been described there. So to summarize again, first Bhagavaan described Mayeva Mana Adatsva Mayi Buddhim Nivesha, and second he said if you cannot do this, then Abhyasa Yogena Tato. Third he says Karma Ishwararpana Bhav se Karma Karo Mayeva May Karma Sanyasya, surrender all your actions to me. And finally he says Karma Phala Tyaga, and he said that Karma Phala Tyaga is the best of all. He gave two reasons. One, he said Tyagat Shantiranantaram, because Tyaga is the only way we can achieve instant peace. And our Guruji tells us that it's only because of Tyaga we get instant peace or peace of mind, and only with this peace of mind we can do the other sadhanas so that we can continue our sadhana. And that's why Karma Phala Tyaga is one of the best out of all. Now, the final 7 or 8 shlokas, Bhagavaan describes the attributes or characteristics of a Jnani, a wise devotee. A Jnani Bhakta ke Lakshana have been described beautiful. And from the 13th to the 19th shloka, he describes 33 attributes of the Jnani Bhakta, their Lakshana, and how it helps us. Devotee who goes through a spiritual journey and then he attains the Atma Jnana or the Brahma Jnana and becomes a Jnani, then what is his attributes, what are his characteristics, his gunas have been described here. For the enlightened wise, Guruji tells us that these attributes are very natural to them, but for the seeker like us who are on this path, want to progress, for us these have to be learned, they have to be practiced with a lot of efforts. So it is prayatna purvak for us. For the Jnani, they are all sahaja, it's very natural. And for the seeker, these attributes, these characteristics are very important because they are like goalposts or lampposts for us. They are ideals for us which we have to reach, and they also help us in our daily introspection, how much we can incorporate in our day-to-day life, where we falter and how we can stand up, get up again and start walking on this path. In Gitaji, such gunas or lakshanas or attributes or characteristics have been described of the Jnani in several places. We have already seen in the 2nd Adhyaya when Bhagavaan described the Sthita Prajna Lakshana. Sthita Prajna Mahapurush is a person who, after undergoing Karma Yoga as a sadhana, reaches to this Atma Jnana with Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and then Atma Jnana. And this person is a Sthita Prajna Lakshana have been described there. In here, in the 12th Adhyaya, Bhagavaan describes the Jnani Bhakta Lakshana. So those who have taken the devotion path, predominantly the devotion path, and then they have reached to this Atma Jnana. And in the 14th Adhyaya, which is the, Bhagavaan describes all the Gunatraya Vibhaga, where he describes the Gunatita Lakshana, the person who has renounced all the worldly activities, Nivrutti Parayana Vyakti, after renunciation, when he obtains the Atma Jnana, what are his characteristics. Now the understanding in all this is that the knowledge that all these three paths acquire is one and the same. The Atma Jnana, Brahma Jnana, our own self-knowledge which is one with the Brahman, this knowledge, Atma Jnana or Brahma Jnana, is the same of all these three. The Karma Yogi, the devotee and the Nivrutti Parayana person when they reach to the Atma Jnana, but they manifest itself in the post-knowledge phase when they live their life. When they become Jivan Mukta, they manifest differently. Astita Prajna, who has gone through the Karma Yoga route, would be Sahaj, naturally be involved in Karma activities, Karma Yoga. From outside, it's very difficult for a person to know whether he is enlightened, wise, what is his inner attitudes, because these are all very subtle attitudes. Similarly, a Gnani Bhakta, when he becomes a Gnani, he also will be in the Bhakti and will continue to do Sahaj Bhakti with the understanding, with the Gnana. And a Gunatita, when he becomes knowledgeable or wise, will continue to remain in the Nivrutti Parayana, will not come to the household, will not have any expectations. So the manifestation of these wise people may be different, but the knowledge that they have is one and the same. So let us start with the attributes or the characteristics described by Lord Krishna here. Adveshta sarva bhutanam maitra karuna evacha nirmamo nirahankaraha samadukha sukha kshami. Adveshta, no dislike, no hatred for any being, sarva bhutanam. Maitra, befriends everyone, is a friend to all. Karuna, karuna means compassion, who has compassion for everyone. Nirmama, who is without, devoid of any attachments, who has no possessions, no relations. Nirahankaraha, has no pride or ego for oneself in the body or the mind. Samadukha sukha, is equipoised in pain and in pleasure, so he is samatva. Kshami, Kshami means who has forgiveness, who forgives all, even those who cause pain to him. So these are some of the attributes that Bhagavaan described. Let us see each one in details, how we can put them in our own life, how we can understand. So first, let us start with Adveshta Sarva Bhutanam. It's very important. Dvesha. Dvesha itself is dislike or hatred for others, and this itself gives us pain, and it gives pain to the other person also. Never keeps our mind in peace, and it is something like an inner anger. Anger is more outside because it is more pragata, it is more manifest, whereas this is more of inside, and it's similar to anger. It also burns our own self and it burns the other person also. And this, the true devotee, understanding, with his knowledge, does not have any hatred, because he is going to see oneness in all. The wise understands that all are one behind all this that is outside. The tattva, the swarupa itself is the same, and that's why it does not have any dislike for anyone, loves everyone. To me, I understand that I don't like someone despising me or hating me, disliking me, and that's why I should also not do the same thing. This is a samanya or a simple earth of dharma. I should not do to others what I don't expect others to do to me. And this is what is written in Mahabharata, that this is the samanya dharma for everyone. Everyone does not need updesha for what is samanya dharma. But there is something called Vishesh Dharma for everyone, like a Kshatriya, like a Brahmachari, they have Vishesh Dharma also. So what are the solutions? How can I develop this Adveshta Sarva Bhutanam? So the first and the foremost is to develop these humanitarian qualities of respecting all the beings, loving all the beings. And the most important thing I need to understand is that it is my own Jida, the invalid insistence about the results of what I want to achieve, stubborn attitudes, our own, internal bhavanas, all these which are become strong as habits, are the ones that causes problems. It is not the other person who is at fault. Generally, it's our tendency to blame the opposite person. When we have dvesha, we always blame the other person, but it's our own attitudes which I need to correct. That is the understanding that I need to get. The next level of understanding is I can see the entire world as a changing, ever-changing, destructive world which keeps on changing, and I can see this as a drama. I can see this as a play going on. If I can see this with a sakshi bhava, then I will not be attached to so much, and I will not have so much of dvesha. It's all very difficult, this understanding, but gradually this can come. And finally, for a devotee who is reached to a more advanced stage, he can see the divinity in all the beings, and with this divinity one will not have any dvesha with the divinity. So if I can see the Lord in all the beings, and I will not have a dvesha bhavana in all the beings, and this is how I can achieve Adveshta Sarva Bhutana. The next attribute is Maitra. Maitra means who befriends one and all, and definitely will not dislike anyone. So Adveshta can become a Maitra, who can be a friend to all. And who is a friend? A friend is the person who guides the another person, helps, supports the other person, sometimes inspires, and if need be, protects the other person. So all these is friendship, and Bhagavaan is a Suruda, friend of everyone. And similarly, a wise person also is like a helping person for everyone, tries to help inspire other person. Karuna. Karuna is compassion. And Karuna Evacha means Karuna for everyone, Sarva Bhutanam. And Karunas are of different types. When they see others' pain, they feel the others' pain. There are some people who feel the pain of the others. They are very compassionate people. But a higher virtue of Karuna is that when we see the pain in others, we also want to relieve the pain of others. We want to help them. We want to help them out, get out of these misery. And that's why we will also pravritta in some action, some words, soothing words or whatever, to make them come out of these pain. So that is a higher level of Karuna. Nirmama. Nirmama is unattachment to all our actions, relationships, Mamata, wherever it comes, Maitri, Karuna. So when we become friends or we become compassionate, sometimes we develop also attachments. If we are not aware, then we develop attachments. Now, attachment does not mean that we stop doing all activities. We have to continue our activities. We have to cultivate relationships, but in such a way that they don't create attachment. And this is a very fine line which we have to, manage in our life, because love and attachment is very, very natural to humans. We, whatever remains with us for some time, we develop this attitude: this is mine, this is mine, and this is my house, this is my car, these are my children, this is my wife, this is my body, this is my possession, these are my wealth, this is my investments. All these attachments we develop very, very easily, even at workplace, even at home, even in our personal things. And that's why, and we keep expanding these attachments as we grow, as we prosper, as we live our life. And it is very, very easy to develop these attachments because this comes very naturally, but it is very difficult to leave this because it happens very, very slowly with a lot of understanding and awareness. So the awareness and the solutions to get out of this is to know our limits, avoid crossing the limits. When we develop friendship or compassion to others, we should know where we have to stop, what is the limit, where we should not overcross the limit, and this awareness must be there. Attachments, we also need to understand that attachment to people as well as objects keeps me dependent on these objects and people, and that's why it makes me dependent. It keeps me under bondage. It binds me. If I want to be liberated, if I want to be free from all these attachments, then I have to rise above this and come over all these attachments. We also have to see the other aspect of the attachments, that how much pain it causes in the long run. In the short run, this attachment may give us a lot of pleasure, happiness, but this is very transient, it is very illusionary. Our Shastras tell us that these attachments give us a lot of pain in the long run, which we try to see, which is also called the Pratipaksha Bhavana, seeing the other side. We should also try to see that everything that we see in this world, develop, have attachments, everything is all transient and nothing belongs to me permanently. Everything keeps changing. It is an ever-changing world. And finally, we need to realize that we need to keep relations. They are important in our life, definitely. We need to love people. That is also important in our life. But at the same time, we should have our limits. We should not love objects. We should not have attachment to objects. We should try to love people and avoiding the attachments to people also. Nirahankara. The next attribute is also very important because ahankar is a big problem for all of us, obstacle. Ahankar is the I-ness, the ego, the pride, the doership feeling that we have all the time, that I have done this, I can do this, I have this power, I have this. So this ego is the root of all the attachments in the world, because it's because of the I that I develop the mind attitude, that I itself wants that this should remain with me. Now, there is a very subtle line between self-respect and ego. Self-respect is good. To have a self-respect of our own self is a good attribute. But when it becomes exaggerated or it becomes underplayed, undervalued, I don't respect my own self. So these are both the levels of ahankara. It could be, the over, or it could be under. So this ego, pride or doership feeling is the one which creates a lot of problems. The devotee tries to merge his identity with the Lord and does not feel that he is losing his identity, but believes that that he is merging this identity with the sarvavyapaka, ever expanding or all pervading identity of the Lord, and that's why he feels the purnatva, ananda of these merging of the identity. The ego of the gnani, the wise person, is burnt in the flames of knowledge, Atmagnan, Brahmagnan, everything is burned, all these ahankara is burned, and that's why he feels oneness with the Lord, all his identity is lost. So ego are two types. One is a very limited ego, which is the one which is the root cause of most of our problems in day-to-day life. And this limited ego is our limitation or identification of our own self with our body-mind complex. Our body, mind, senses, and our intellect, all these, when we get identified to this anatma, then this creates a limited ego. And this is the pride that we have for our physical appearance, for our education, our qualifications, our degree, our position in the society, our strength, our relations, our knowledge, sometimes even for our goodness, we have this kind of ego. And for all our relations, we want to show that we are connected or related to people of repute, people of prestige. And all this comes very, very sukshma in our life, in our talks. When we meet somebody, we always try to say, oh, I am related to this, I am this, I am this. So all these are our limited attachments, which we try to, make the other person accept. But there is something called omnipresent ego, the all-pervading ego, merging with the universal consciousness. When Bhagavaan Krishna talks in the 10th Adhyaya that I am here, I am this in vibhutis, different vibhutis, he talks from the universal perspective. He talks from the omnipresent ego. It doesn't look like an egoistic thing. And this is the only way we can try to attain the Almighty and merge our individual identity into the universal identity. So I can, how I can come out of this. I can do all my actions, all my activities by an understanding that I am the nimitta matra bhava. I am the, the person who is entrusted with this responsibility. This is my duty. But he is the doer. He is the one who makes me, who gives me orders to do this. He is the doer. And a normal vyakti or a person always believes that I am something. I have some ego. And when he becomes a bhakta and a devotee, he dissolves his ego. And then at one step, he comes to a stage where he understands that I am nothing. Everything is the Lord. I am just a servant, dasa bhava. And then finally, when he achieves the jnana, he understands that he is everything because he's one with the Almighty, with the all-pervading consciousness. So this is the difference how we progress on our path of the spiritual journey with our understanding. The next attribute is samadukha sukha, equipoised in pain and pleasure. So this is nothing but samatva, and Bhagavaan Shree Krishna talks about samatva in many, many adhyayas. In the 2nd adhyaya, right from the 2nd to the 3rd, 4th adhyaya, everywhere he has talked about samatva, to remain equipoised, to remain balanced, not too happy, not being too sad. And this is something that Bhagwan expects from us, because it's only the balanced mind, which does not have too many ups and downs, is in a conditioned, matured mind, which can acquire the Atmagnana or the self-knowledge. Without these manasthiti, it is not possible for us to acquire this gnana. And the goal of the spiritual journey, the most of the sadhana, is to develop this equanimity, this samatva, this maturity of the mind, because only with this mind we can understand the Atmagnana. And we also need to understand that everything sukha dukkha is a lot of relativity. There is, it depends on the needs and the requirements of individual, because one person's sukha may be another person's dukkha. Say for example, there is a person who moves from a very small house in the slums to a one-bedroom apartment. For him, it is sukha. He is utterly happy because he has moved to a bigger apartment. But for a person who used to live in a palatial large bungalow, if he has to move for some reason or circumstances into a one-bedroom house, the action is the same for both. But for that person, it is a lot of dukkha because he has lived in a very different way. And that's why the same activity or the same action is sukha for one, dukkha for the other. And that's why we can understand that everything in this life is quite relative. And that's why I have to try to remain in samatva. The next characteristics is Shami. Shami means forgiveness. If one can forgive everyone, even those people who cause pain to us, then it's a very high attribute. And Gnani are naturally, they are people who forgive others for the mistakes. And this involves acceptance of all beings, to forgive the others. Svikara buddhi, jisko kehte hai. And this forgiveness is not a cowardice. It is not running away or saying that, okay, just by words saying that, okay, maine maaf kiya aapko. It's not like that. It's a strength. It comes from within, that, we are able to, without any pressure on our mind, we are able to forgive. We are, without any, distractions of the mind, we are able to forgive the other person. This is quite a matter of strength, and this only comes with a lot of understanding and acceptance. The next shloka, Santushtha satatam yogi yatatma drada nishchayah mayyarpita manor buddhihi yo mad bhakta same priyah. Satatam santushta. If you see, satatam is in between both santushta and yogi. So satatam is applied to both santushta and yogi. Satatam santushta means one who is always satisfied. Satatam yogi means one who is constantly, yoga means uniting, connection with the Lord, connection with the Almighty. So one who is constantly connected. Yatatma means one who is having the self-control. Dhrada nishchaya, one who has the firm resolution. Mayyarpita mano buddhi, one whose mind and intellect are surrendered to me. Yo mad bhakta same priya, this type of my devotee is very dear to me. So satatam santushta, one who is always satisfied. Now satisfaction does not mean that we remain lazy, we don't work. We have to do our karma, our activities, our actions. We have to follow our call of duty. But we don't need to keep on doing this. We have to develop some level of satisfaction, because we need to understand that desires or our wants has no limits. They keep increasing. We want something, then when we achieve that, we also want something more. And that's why creating a limit, a boundary in my life is very, very important. At some step in our life, some stage in our life, we have to understand that enough is enough. This is what is called as alam buddhi or alam pratyaya, means that, okay, enough. This is what I have, this is what I have got, and this is enough for my comfort, my survival, my life. So whenever we have desires, there are a few questions we need to ask. The first is whether is it necessary? Is it need-based? Do I need this? Or is it just because everybody has this possession, I want it? Is it greed-based? I need to ask this question. Will it be useful really? Is it needed? Do I need it now, or can I postpone it? Is it worth the price that I pay for this kind of possession? And we need to understand that it is the satisfaction that brings true happiness, the peace of mind to us ultimately. And scriptures and satsang give us this new understanding with which we can develop this kind of attitude, so that we can remain satatam santushta, we can have the peace of mind. We also should remember that karma, we have to do in the best way. We have to do our duties and keep our efforts without being satisfied. This is not the area where we have to be satisfied, but we have to do this karma in the right direction, with the right attitude, in the right actions. But the satisfaction which we need to develop is in the fruits of the action, the karma phala. Karma phala is where we have to exercise our caution and our satisfaction. Satatam yogi means constantly being connected, and connected to the Lord. For a bhakta, for a sadhaka, it is connected to his goal, in his sadhana, what all sadhanas is practicing, and everything else becomes immaterial. That these our goal becomes the first priority. That is the kind of connection every moment, every second, every time of our life. For the wise, this connection is with his swarupa, and it comes very naturally. For a bhakta, this is connection with the Lord, because he's connected to the Lord with the faith, the shraddha, and with efforts, prayatna purvaka. So satisfied person can become a yogi, and a yogi is a person who can be satisfied. Both these are interdependent on each other's, but this is possible only if we have some kind of control or mastery over our mind. And this is what God describes in the next characteristics, yatatma, one who has a self-control. Now, atma word here does not mean the soul. Atma, as we ordinarily understand, is where we are mixture of all these body, mind complex. Everything is mixed. Atma and atma, everything is mixed. As we understand, we also understand I am this limited soul. I don't understand that I am the all-pervading soul. And this is what Shastra refers to as Atma here, that one who has this body-mind complex, And one who has this mind control, this mastery over the mind and the Indriya Sanyama, which Bhagavaan Shree Krishna has described many oft repeated, that this is the base, this is the most important part of the sadhana. It is from here that the sadhana spiritual journey starts. Dhrada Nishchaya means the firm resolution, firm affirmation that any work requires success. Success becomes a success only if there are firm decisions taken. Firm decisions are in the area of our goals and our sadhana. And these firm decisions, rituals are very important part of the sadhana. The saints and the renunciates are established in this kind of firm decision. They have some vrata, niyama, which they always follow. And Dhrada Nishchaya is one in the goal. What is my goal? I must very clearly define the goal of my life. I must have a firm decision towards the commitment to this goal. I must become the first priority, and the firmness with which I pursue this goal is also very, very important, with the ways and means, the sadhanas that have been given to me to fulfill the goal. So this kind of a decision, and this is the work of the buddhi, the intellect, which will take this kind of Dhrada Nishchaya. And this is very important, because if only with I follow the rules firmly, I can persist and progress on this path. At the same time, it is important that we should not become very rigid and bound by the rules in our life. There must be some flexibility, because life is also very flexible. Some of the situations that can be created which can derail my sadhana, my spiritual journey. But then with understanding, with flexibility, I can release for some time the rules and then come back again and follow the rules. This is the kind of flexibility we need to develop rather than becoming very rigid. Mai arpita mano buddhihi, mind and intellect surrendered to me. So surrendering our mind and intellect only means let going of our attachments. Mind is the root of all the mamata. Intellect is the seat of all our ahankar, ego. So leaving all this, and where do we need to surrender this? We have to surrender this to the feet of the Lord. And this kind of bhakta, yamat bhakta, same priya, Bhagavaan says that this kind of devotee who is all this, mai arpita mano buddhihi, who is nirahankara, nirmamo, all these attributes one who has, he is very dear to me. I love this devotee of mine. And devotees love God with a lot of love and reverence, but in reciprocation, God loves his devotees with his immense grace and with his love. And this is what everyone desires. Next shloka. Yasman no dvijate loko, lokan no dvijate chayaha, harsha marsha bhayo dvegaihi, muktoya sachame priyaha. Yasman no dvijate loko, one who does not disturb others. And lokan no dvijate chayaha, one who is not disturbed by others. Harsha amarsha bhaya dvegaha udvegaha muktaha, one who is free from all these harsha, elation. Amarsha is intolerance leading to jealousy. Bhaya are fears, all our fears, and udvega, all our anxieties. One who is free from all this, that kind of a bhakta is dear to me, Bhagavaan says. So one who does not disturb others. So wise people are very peaceful, while most of us are quite restless because we want to achieve so much. But wise people have already, they don't have to achieve anything. They provide peace to people who come to them, because they are not in competition with anyone. They don't have any much desires to achieve anything, and that's why they are quite peaceful. They have achieved, they have always wanted to. They are already purna. They are complete from within, and they are good listeners. They listen to people without judgment or prejudices or interrupting them and giving them unwanted advices. Lokan no dvijate chaya, one is not disturbed by others, because these persons have no desires, expectations. They don't need to please anyone because they don't want anything in return, and they are fearless. They don't have fear of disease, death, fame, infame, disrespect, respect, society, what they are going to say. All this is not in the minds of the sadhu or the wise or gnani, and that's why they are not disturbed by others. Harsha amarsha bhaya dvegai mukta samay priyaha, dvegai mukti, one who is freer from all these udvega, all these ups and downs of harsha, elation, saturated with happiness, amarsha, non-endurance or jealousy, bhaya, all kinds of fears. Such a devotee is dear to me, who is not having this kind of ups and downs in the life. Next shloka. Anapeksha shuchir daksha udasino katavyataha sarvarambha parityagi yo madbhakta same priyaha. Anapeksha, one who is devoid of expectations. Shuchihi dakshaha, one who is pure, auspicious. Dakshaha means skillful. Udasinaha, one who does not take any sides, who is dispassionate. Gatavyatha, one who is vyatha, anguish, has been destroyed or gone away. Sarva arambha parityagi, one who has given up all kinds of selfish action. Yomad bhakta same priyaha, such a devotee of mine is very dear to me, Bhagavaan says. So let us understand what is anapeksha, devoid of expectations. Now we all know that expectations are the root cause of all our pain and miseries. We always expect this person did not reciprocate to me, this person did not appreciate me. All these are our expectations, how this person should behave. All these are our expectations which cause us pain. So to become happy, we need to reduce our expectations. The wise person is devoid of all expectation, but they do have desires. Simple desires are already there because they understand that desires and expectations are different. It is okay to have some desires, but it's not okay to have expectations. And expectations here means apeksha. And this apeksha takes the form of insistence. And this is an invalid insistence, a jid, or even going to the extreme of being obstinate or duragra. No, this should be like this cannot be like this person cannot behave to me like this, he cannot tell me like this. So this becomes a kind of my jid and duragraha, which I have to avoid. And anapeksha does not mean that I become careless, I don't care about things. It does not mean that. But it means that with an understanding, I don't have this jid and duragraha and I become carefree. So even if I don't have any expectations, and that's why in reciprocation I don't get any pain or miseries, and I become carefree. So basic needs are okay, but we should not become very fussy, choosy in a lot of our issues, like in our diet, in our clothing, in our comforts, in our routine way of life that we are living. And that is what Bhagavaan means by saying anapeksha. So adjust to whatever is available and acceptance of all the situations. Svikara buddhi, adjustability, flexibility is something that Bhagavaan wants us to have. So expectations and apekshas in our life can be in the form of physical expectations like roti, kapda, makan, all our comforts, good health. Psychological, it could be in the form of emotions like love, we need respect, we need help, if we need support, and people should obey to me. These are kind of apekshas that we have. And intellectual desires or apekshas like decision making, impulsiveness, or laziness. And being devoid of expectation, the biggest benefit that we have is that we become independent. We are not dependent on others for our own happiness. We are not dependent on others. We don't put our happiness in the hands of the others. Shuchihi means pure and auspicious. The regular meaning of the word shuchi is cleanliness or shuddhi. But this shuddhi is like the outer shuddhi. But here the meaning is more of inner pavitrata or auspiciousness. Inner shuddhi, all the wise people are, all wise and enlightened have inner shuddhi in thoughts, mind, action, attitudes, they are shuddha. But the outer shuddhi, the acharya koti gnanis, they will demonstrate outer shuddhi. They will live in a life where there is outer shuddhi. But there are some wise people, enlightened, avdut koti, sannyasis, those who do not care even about their outer shuddhi, and they will not be living, maybe not living in a very clean environment outside, but from inside they are all very shuddha. Daksha means skillful, and being skillful is not just skillful in our in our work, but it means skillful in our attitudes, in our actions, in our dealings, our decisions. So understanding the true meaning of words, our scriptures, that is also skillfulness. Ability to take right decisions at the right time in the given situation is also a skill. Disciplined lifestyle, having regular exercise schedule of our work and life balance, progressing over a period of time. Wherever there are obstacles which come on my path, I try to overcome these obstacles by my mind, buddhi, with the help of people. This is also a daksha or a skillfulness. And handling our own emotions, keeping our ego, our pride at distance, and always being aware of all these, is also a dakshata or a skills of life. And our Guruji tells us that there are 4 stages of life. One is animal life, the pashuta, at birth in childhood, We don't have much thinking abilities. We live life with instincts, just like animals do. And that's why it is called the animal stage of our life. Gradually, Ma Bap and our teachers, our friends, we imbibe some samskaras about the think about our consequences, how we should behave, how not to behave, how we should do, what we should do in this life. So these are the manavta or the sanskaras of the humanity. And finally, when we accept dharma in our life, we do vichara, viveka, we encounter, we more try to get more Daivi Guna, Shuddhi and Pavitrata. Then we become from Manava to Divyata to divinity. So this is where Shuddhi and Pavitrata helps us. And then finally from Divyata to we go to the knowledge and we get freedom or Dhanyata, the ultimate fulfillment of our life success by achieving Atma Gnana. So these are the 4 stages of knowledge, stages of our life. So how to become skillful or taksha? For that we need to follow some discipline, some rules in our life. Only then we can develop this kind of attitudes, involve our time in some kind of service or seva of the elder, society, guru. So to see the need of the others, we can understand the others' point of view and we can be aware about this. Observing different people, others' actions, how they take the decisions in their life in difficult situations also helps us to understand. And we need to start small. Don't neglect small issues, because it's ultimately the small issues that can create big problems in our life, and that's why we should not neglect the small issues. And finally, associate with skillful people, sangha, so that we can imbibe and learn the skillful things. And we should always be keen to learn and practice abhyasa. Tatparta and abhyasa is very important. Next is udasina. Udasina means not taking any sides, to be more dispassionate and to see both the points of view from, Udasina means to rise above, to see from a bird's eye point of view so that we can see everything in the same way. And Ut, the another meaning is Brahma or equanimity, to remain in sameness, having no discrimination for people. And this person who is Udasina is steadfast, who does not take any sides, does not have any prejudice for anyone, does not have strong likes and dislikes for both the sides, and does not get perturbed also by less skilled person. And that's why Shuchi and Udasina, that he has, if somebody is not Shuchi, then that Udasina does not expect too much from the others. And that's why Bhagavaan says Daksha, skill, and Udasina, one should not expect too much from others, remain, dispassionate in a bird's eye view. Gatavyatha means whose anguish, whose vyatha is destroyed. Vyatha means our inner pain, which is quite deep and sometimes disturbing. The wise people are quite fearless because they truly understand the nature of this world, which is changing. They accept that there is a lot of different situations come, and that's why with this acceptance, they don't have any agitation of their mind, and they are same in the gain and the loss. Even if there is a loss, some kind of loss in terms of, say, natural disasters or wealth or disciples or whatever, but they don't get much affected because they understand that this is part of life. And devotee has the utmost faith in the God, and that's why he remains unperturbed. For the seeker, he needs to understand that there are ups and downs which are part of life. One should not get too much upset, should not get anguished or agitated. Do not give so much of importance to this ever-changing, destructive world, and to keep our mind at peace is my first goal and my highest priority. By this understanding, the seeker can remain without anguish, without agitation, without anxieties, without stress, and can live a good life and go on the spiritual mark. Sarvarambha Parityagi, one who gives up all the selfish actions. Arambha. Arambha is any desire for self-fulfillment, actions which are done for this kind of desire. And Sarvarambha Parityagi means giving up all self-centered actions. The wise, they also are involved in activity. They do a lot of actions, but these are mainly for the benefit of others, and they don't take any pride or ego in doing this activity. Yomat Bhakta Same Priyaha means that Bhagavaan repeatedly says this sentence. And why Bhagavaan says this often again? Because he's displaying his love for his devotees, and more than that, the seeker, it will inspire him to attain this kind of qualities, and that's why Bhagavaan says that I love this kind of my devotee. Yo na yashyati na tveshti, na shochati na tankshati, shubha shubha parityagi, bhakti manya same priyaha. The next shloka, Bhagavaan also talks about the samatva bhavana, one who does not get too much of elated, does not get hostile to another person, one who does not become shochati, does not grieve, does not get sorrow, and one does not have kankshati, does not have desires. Shubha Shubha Parityagi, one who has given up all that is Shubha, Ashubha, everything. And such a devotee is very dear to me. He says, so Yona Yashyati Nadveshti, all this basically means Samatva Bhavana. The wise are happy, but they don't have these kinds of ups and downs of happiness. They are eternally happy because they are one with their inside. They are not dependent on the outer objects for their happiness. But the average person, he goes through all his raga, dvesha, likes, dislikes, ups and downs, all these emotions come, and the wise are steadfast in joy. They don't have these kind of ups and downs. They don't feel the pain. Of course, the wise also feels the pain, but they overcome it very easily. It is not that they are patthar dil, they don't feel the pain, but they are childlike, they are very innocent. Their small things make them very happy, and that's how they can overcome all these painful situations. For the seeker, a lot of efforts are required to achieve this kind of purity or maturity of the mind, with which he can remain in samatva, in the sameness of all these ups and downs of life, does not get too happy with when he gets joy or success, but does not get too upset when he becomes, somebody disrespects us or we don't get what we achieved. So this kind of equanimity comes only with understanding. With understanding comes the maturity of the mind, and with this our behavior changes, and then this repeated behavior becomes part of our personality. And this is what our shastras, scriptures and Guruji can do to our life. They can actually change our personality from what we are to be another personality, which will be much more sattvika, much more sober, much more simple, and much more peaceful. Shubha Shubha Parityagi means there is no difference between what is Shubha, Ashubha, auspicious, unauspicious. And because the wise person is connected with the Almighty, everything is auspicious for that person and accepts one and all with all this understanding. The seeker has to go from this Bheda Buddhi, all these differences, to Abheda Buddhi with this understanding. And Bhagavaan says, Bhakti Manya Samepriyaha, such a devotee who worships me with devotion is very, very dear to me, because he does everything without any expectation. Selflessly he does for the benefit of the others at large. Samah shatrau cha mitre cha tatha manapamanayoho shitoshna sukha dukkheshu samah sangha vivarjitaha. Bhagavaan again gives message of samatva, one who is same towards a friend or an enemy, one who remains equipoised in honor or disgrace, one who is same in the pair of opposites or dualities of the world, such as cold and heat, pleasure and pain, and one who is free from all the attachments, sangha vivarjitaha. Samatva Bhavana, already Bhagavaan has said previously, it is very important. Not only it's a sadhana, but it's a goal also, because Param Samatva is the Brahma. Brahma is Sama. And Samatva is very easy to listen, but very difficult to practice in our life. And we need to remain same towards our friend, but towards our enemy also we need to remain, get the same attitude. Do not see the enemy as a bad person, but having a bad quality. And that's why with this understanding, the person is not bad, but the quality that he has. And that's why we look only at the quality and not at the person, and don't have an animosity with the person. Similarly, when somebody disgraces us or disrespects us, we don't develop dvesha towards that person. And whenever we get any honor or credit, we should learn to try this, to share this credit with our team, with appreciating them, applauding them for the hard work that they're doing. Where even in the Shita Ushna, all these dualities of our life, Sukha, Dukkha, all this, we can learn to accept this, and we to try to change this. If it is avoidable, we can do whatever best we can. But if it is not avoidable, we have to endure these dualities. And finally, Bhagavaan says, Samasanga Vivarjitaha, we should remain devoid of all attachments to our near and dear ones, which is the biggest obstacle in the progress of our path. And this is definitely difficult to understand how we can do this, but it is definitely possible, because Bhagavaan tells us that we can overcome this. The second last shloka of the Adhyaya and the final shloka of the Jnani Bhakta Lakshana. Tulya ninda stutir mauni santushto yena kenachita aniketa stiramatihi bhaktiman me priyo naraha. So Tulya ninda stuti, one who is able to remain equal in censure or praise. Mauni, who is disciplined in the speech, speaks very little, having more of silence. shows the peace of mind, santushtu yena kenachita, who is satisfied for whatever is obtained to him or her. Aniketa. Aniketa is much who does not have any place of his own called a home. Niketana means a home. Sthiramatihi, one whose knowledge is firm. The sadhana and the sadhya is firmly established. Bhaktiman me priyo naraha, one whose devotion is beloved. His devotion is beloved to me, Bhagavan says. And in the final shloka, Bhagavan says, Ye tu dharmyat mrutamidam yathoktam paryupasate shraddhana mat parama bhaktaste tiva me priyaha. So it says, one who follows all these values, these characteristics, these attributes that Bhagavan has shown, 33 attributes of the Gnani Bhakta in life, one who keeps this with these are all attributes are related to dharma. They are dharmyam, means they are all related to dharmyam, what should be done, what should not be done, what has been described by our Vedas, which are according to our dharma. And they are amrutam. Amrutam means these attitudes lead us to immortality, because ultimately only with this Devi Sampatti we can go to Atma Jnana, and that's why these are called amrutam. They are also like nectar, like very amruta, very sweet, and they will lead us to the immortality. Yathoktam paripasate, as has been told by the Lord, one who upholds his values, paripasate, does devotion. Shraddhana mat parama, with shraddha, with faith. Mat parama means with the surrender to the Lord, with understanding the Lord is the goal, final goal. Bhakta te ativa me priyaha. Bhagavan finally says they are exceedingly beloved to me. These kind of devotees who try to attain these values are very, very dear to me. And everyone wants that we should be loved by God. And if we want really to be loved by God, to be in the list of God-loving people, Bhagavan ke list mein agar aana hai, to then we should try to imbibe these values in our life. And this Sadgun Sampatti, essentially imbibing in our life, is a management of change in our life, which is a very big change. And this change, we have to understand that, Guruji teaches us that we should have small goals, taking one step at a time, because these are not very easy to attain in our life. This comes very gradually, and that's why with just small goals, we can have just one sampatti. We can think about that sampatti, how we can adveshta sarva bhutanam. For 1 week, I will not have any dvesh on somebody. So this is the kind of small goals that we can have in our life, and take one step at a time. Slowly and steadily keep pushing our limits, because then this requires a lot of awareness to push our limits, to improve, to develop this kind of a chain, and pursue our goals with a positive attitude, because it's very common that we will falter, we will again fall down, again we will not follow this, we will again come back to our own old behavior pattern. But we have to stand up again and keep trying with a very positive attitude, and make changes in our life, so that our life becomes for better, our relationships improve with our family members, with our other colleagues. We develop better relationships by this change management, and we keep doing this even if it creates some pain, discomfort or miseries in my life, because whenever we develop this kind of change, there will be some problems happening. And we should always remember, Bhagavan himself has said that Shanai Uparamed, that every change happens very, very slowly. We have to keep trying our best, and it is definitely not easy to change our old habits. It is already, we know this, but Bhagavan says it is possible, and that's why we should keep trying. And this needs repeated practice, abhyasa, to make it possible. We have to keep trying, keep learning, keep doing, keep understanding. With this understanding, we have to keep loving that. And what we need to become, Adarsh Bhakta, what Lord describes, who has a deep commitment, Mat Parama, who has a deep commitment for the goal, for the Lord, does everything for the Lord, who is Adveshta Sarva Bhutanam, love, compassion for all the beings, Maitra Karuna Evacha, Nirmama Nirahankaraha. So Bhagavan says we have to develop love, compassion for all the beings, and we need to Niramama Nirahankaraha, humble in all our dealings with all the beings. Should not have pride, do not try to disrespect others, especially those who are at a lower position than us. We should be very humble in our dealings with all the beings. Mauni, Shuchi, Dakshaha, soft-spoken, unattached, Nirmamaha, and finally, inner desire for welfare of everyone, that should be there in our mind. We should be selfless. we should be, that's what God wants us to be like. And with this, and this we can develop only if we desire to be in the company of wise people, sadhu, santa, purush, those who are life is full of these kind of attributes, characteristics. If we spend some time with them, we can learn, we can understand these attributes, see them in their life, and try to imbibe them in our life. So with this, we come to the end of the Adhyaya. Om Tat Sat Iti Shrimad Bhagavad Geetasu Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Bhakti Yogo Nama Dvadashodhyayah Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tva Sarva Papebhyo Mokshaishyami Ma Shuchaha. Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.